Greetings, Ducklings! In this video, I'll rank great leaders of Germany, Byzantium, and Korea. They will be rated in 10 categories: leader bonus, civ bonus, unique unit, unique building, bonuses synergy, star dependence, gameplay, survivability, peak power, and win conditions. We're starting with the most beloved and most overrated leader in Civ 6, Frederick Barbarossa. Holy Roman Empire leader bonus gives you one extra military policy slot in any government, plus 7 combat strength when attacking city-state. Any bonus that gives you extra policy card is good, even though it is a rare one. But sometimes this bonus might grant you extremely good tempo in a game, because you can take a city-state with a couple of warriors. I'm not talking about deity difficulty, I'm talking about multiplayer where city-states have no walls. So the bonus itself is super cool, but in some condition it's not working very well, so I granted it only 7 apples. Free Imperial Cities bonus grants you extra district in your cities exiting the normal limit based on population. This bonus was reworked in a PvG mod, and unlike vanilla game, you must unlock Guild's Civic to get it. But to be honest, it's still one of the best bonuses in the game that allows Germany to shine, and I can't grant it less than a 10 apples. Unique unit is the weakest spot of German Empire. It's a naval unit submarine U-boat. It's never used, because by the time you can unlock it, it is easier to wait 15 more turns and build yourself a GDRs. Because, as you know, Germany is a giga sim civilization, so I granted 3 apples and let's move on. Hansa, a district unique to Germany for industrial activity, replaces the industrial zone district and cheaper to build, plus 2 production bonus for each adjacent commercial hub, aqueduct, canal, and dam districts, plus 1 production bonus for each adjacent resource, plus 1 production bonus for every 2 adjacent district tiles. But to impress you even more, I can add that you can stack more than plus 12 adjacency bonus to these districts, which can be transformed into plus 24 with a policy card and plus 48 with a coal power plant. These districts make Germany great. This district made Germany one of the most popular civilizations. And these districts worth more than 10 apples, but unfortunately I can't grant 11. And the most intriguing part here is bonuses synergy. So let's talk about how all these bonuses works together. And as you might guess, they works perfectly. Hansa and Free Imperial cities are bound to be together. And of course, Holy Roman Empire gives you extra red policy card slot, which grants you a Craftsman policy card free of charge. And as I mentioned earlier, sometimes you might get an incredible tempo, like 4 or 5 cities till turn 30, because you take a city-state with the warriors. Unfortunately, as it often happens, unique unit is not very fit in and bonus synergy, and talking about U-boat, it fit no in the game at all. Maybe because of the U-boat, I give only 8 apples out of 10 for bonuses synergy. Star dependence. It is the hardest topic for the Germany as for me. Because from one hand it doesn't really need anything because you have Hansas, and from another hand you might need a lot of things before you get Hansas. First thing, you need a relatively good start which PBG grants you. Then you must have a nice setup, and that is where the problem begins, because sometimes luxury resources and strategic resources blocks your setups and you can only perform a single city setup, which of course can be okay, but you'd like to have a perfect Hansa with a plus 12 or more. So basically, you won't have that territory that is hard to play, but you might have a territory that is okay to play, and playing Germany, you don't want to have an okay gameplay, you want to have a perfect gameplay. So I think it is fair to give Germany 7 apples for its star dependence, and we can move on. Gameplay is also interesting topic for Germany because early and even mid game is a completely disaster for you. You don't have early bonuses it is common for Germany to miss first golden age. But once you get Hansas, once you get guilds, you're shining, you're super productive thief, and you can dominate the world. So if you can get first golden age, it'll be superior game for you. If you can't, it will be a suffering. So I think Germany deserves from 5 to 10, so it's about 7 apples for its gameplay. Survivability. For Germany, it's the same as the old topics, early game hard, late game super easy. But the most popular thing to do is rush Germany with the horses. So as a German player, you're trying to have a superior game, you just took your city-state with a couple of warriors, but boom, out of nowhere came those horsemen rush, and you have to react to that, and you miss your golden, and your game is ruined, and you feel yourself miserable. This situation might happen with any thieves, but because people are aware they can't deal with you late game, they most likely going to attack you early game. And as you notice it, you don't have any early game bonuses, zero. So that is, in my opinion, the biggest issue for Germany, and that is why I granted only 4 apples for its survivability. Big power for Germany comes late, very late. If you sim it well, you can be almost unstoppable because of your extremely good production. Unfortunately, Germany doesn't have any other bonuses than extremely good production. You don't have military bonuses, your military unit is trash, so most likely you can change something, you will definitely not die, and your best hope is to nuke everyone to the hell. And after that, you can leave planet and launch exoplanet expedition. So yes, I'd say Germany can change something in the game, but it's a very late game, but it still can, so I grant 7 apples for its big power. Talking about win conditions, you can have any, because, well, you're Germany. You can go military, scientific, cultural, maybe even diplomatic somehow, maybe with the carbon dioxide projects. But you don't have any specific bonuses for any type of victory. So all you have is extremely good production and you have to spend it wise. So I think Germany worth of a 7 apples for its win condition options, which in total grants Frederick 70 apples. I think most of you will be disappointed of so low rank for Germany, but it has its problem and I noticed that Germany is not the perfect civ. And to be honest, it's not quite popular in a tournament games, so it has its problems and it has its bonuses. And we have to move on. Now we talk about a new German leader, Ludwig II, with a unique ability, Swanking. Wonders, even if not finished, receive +2 culture for every adjacent district. This culture is displayed in the city yields. All cultural adjacent provide tourism after discovering castles. This is quite strong cultural victory-oriented leader. Swan King grants you early culture with a pre-placed wonders, which is amazing, I have to say. This somehow solved that problem with a golden age for Germany. Because with an extra culture, you can reach government before turn 31 and get those extra points if needed. I'm not sure, can that extra tourism grant you cultural victory early in the multiplayer? But it definitely gives you some bonuses for the late game, sure. But it might be a little bit difficult to fit in all the wonders with a maximum tourism bonus they can have. Because you must think about how to fit your districts, how to make a perfect setup for those Hansas. So it is not as strong as it looks like. I think this bonus is well balanced, but it's slightly worse than a Holy Roman Empire that Friedrich has. So, to be honest, it worth 6 apples out of 10. Now we skip out those bonuses we discussed earlier and moving straight to a bonuses synergy. We lost our free policy card, that's terrible, So now we have to spend trade policy card for craftsman policy card. We also can't get early city state, but it's okay because we might use horses and we'll get it like 15 turns later. It's not a big deal. Hansa still stuck well with 3 imperial cities, so it was more than a 5 apples, and Swan King fit nowhere near to anything, but with an extra production you might construct a lot of wonders and get extra culture late game. So I think Ludwig has slightly worse bonuses synergy than Frederick, so I granted him 7. I'd like to grant him 7.5, but I can't add a half. So it's 7 apples from the Ludwig the Swan King. Star dependence from Ludwig slightly worse than for Frederick. Not that much, but just because you must find specific places for wonders construction, it can be slightly harder for you to play that sieve. You can of course play something more standard, but that means you won't use your sieve bonuses perfectly. That is why I grant him only 6 apples for his star dependence. And now the good news, everyone. Gameplay for Ludwig is more interesting than for Frederick, and it is of course easier because you have extra culture from wonders you constructed in addition of those wonder bonuses you get. And it's obvious that you'd like to replace wonders next to your city center, so it will generate extra culture and you can reach political philosophy before 1031. This should help you get Golden Age easier. So no more nor less, his gameplay worth at least 8 apples. It's all fun and games, but now let's talk about survivability. You wouldn't believe, but this extra culture can help you with this topic. So you can get more culture, you will discover more civics, and you'll get more military bonuses for you, which improve your survivability early game. And as we were talking about Germany earlier, you don't care about survivability right after you construct Hansas, so it's a mid game and late game for you is not a problem at all. So definitely Ludwig has better survivability than Frederick, but he's still lacking some good units or military bonuses, so it's only 5 out of 10 apples. As in a previous case, it's still a Germany, and peak power for its nation is a deep late game, where you can do whatever you want, because you have extremely strong production, and with a Ludwig you might have slightly more culture and the better timings for tier 3 or tier 4 government. So I think they're both quite equal and both worth of a 7 apples. Road to a victory for Ludwig is narrow. It's straight to a cultural victory. So unlike Frederick, where you don't know what to do, you know how you're gonna win as a Ludwig from the very first turn. I like when Civ has unique bonus for a specific victory. It makes it easier to play and it make for you easier victory. So without any words, I think Ludwig is better than Friedrich in this topic and I grant him 8 apples, which in total brings him 70 apples, same as a Friedrich. So they both quite equal, but they have their own unique gameplay as it should be for different leaders. Next in our list is Seondeok, the great leader of Korean Empire. Her unique ability is Hwarang. Governors established in a city provide 3% of culture and science for each promotion they have earned, including their first. Back in the day, this bonus was massive, but nowadays, when a lot of leaders has plus 10% just for existence, it doesn't feel that great. Best case scenario, by 1050 you'll get 3 cities with a plus 6% science and culture. That is not good at all, and I think it worth not more than 4 apples. 3 Kingdoms is way better civilization bonus. Mines receive plus 1 science for every adjacent Siwon district. Farms receive plus 1 food for every adjacent Siwon district. Now that is something, and it provides extremely good science for Korea early in the game. Its influence fade later in the game, but it allows you to snowball your empire. Unfortunately, early game science doesn't feel that great for a new civ, so I rated it only with a 6 apples. Unique unit Hwacha, it's a Renaissance era cannons. It looks good, but unfortunately, it is not that great as you might think so. There's a lot of troubles with watches. You might have a general to use them offensively. It is not that good to attack with only watches, so it might need more units. It must be prepared before it can shoot, and the biggest problem is you can have regular field cannons later. And with extremely good Korean science, you can reach ballistics in no time, but you will still have only Hwachas. So yes, this unit extremely good, but its timings are so short that you rarely can use it. And of course, a lot of players try it. There is a couple of builds with a 4, with a 5 cities when you make a Hwacha timing attack, but it mostly defensive unit. So I grant it 4 apple and we'll move on. Finally, the best Korean bonus and the reason why Korea is still playable safe is Sejong. It was harder worked in a PBG and now it gives you only +2 science base adjacency bonus. But you can boost this adjacency bonus because Sejong receive +1 science for every 2 adjacent mines. But it has debuffs -1 science for each adjacent district except Theater Square. Provides +1 culture to adjacent theater square. Culture bombs adjacent tiles when completed. Must be built on hills. It is completely different than vanilla ones, because there you can build Savon and you have nothing to worry about, but here you must pick a good place for it to be constructed. You must construct it surrounded by hills. You can of course add another Savon nearby, so both of the Savons will buff those hills, but in most cases it brings you more pain than a regular campus. If you want to rush campuses, that is what happens with Savon, you can build it with the 32 production cost, and Savon will cost you only 16, but you save only 16 production on that. And got almost nothing except science, and with more science you discover more technologies and your other districts become more expensive. That is hard to keep up on Korean science tempo. You can of course play district discount build order as a Korea, but it doesn't work that well as with the other civs that have unique district. Because of all these problems you might have trying to construct Savon, I granted only 9 apples. Now let's talk about bonuses synergy. So Hwarang, our leader bonus, gives extra science and culture in the cities with governors, but you got governor titles when you're advancing on a cultural tree. And all our bonuses are focused on getting more science. So it doesn't seem like we can abuse our bonus. We always have to hold our scientific progress back to not just make that districts are too expensive. And as I was saying earlier, science is not that important in early game. Of course, you might rush apprenticeship, you might rush Wacha, but in the end of the day, you find yourself with a 150 science and about 50 culture, which is not good. And of course, with our science growth, we might force era shift earlier and we might miss golden age because of it. It happens quite rarely, but sometimes it's an issue. So I think 7 apples is the exact amount of apples that this topic worth. Star dependence. Korean BIOS is Hales, and most multiplayer games play it on a new world, so you won't have any troubles of getting Hales. The issue here is mountains sometimes, and the lack of fresh water. And there is another issue that you might have is lack of horses, because you have hills everywhere and you can't have horses on hills, so you gotta keep this in mind. But in general, Korea has quite good stats, so I granted 7 apples. Gameplay. Korea has one of the easiest gameplay in entire Civ game, as all Civs with a unique chip district. Another bonus, even for vanilla, you get a lot of hills, so a lot of productions early game for you granted. But in late game you might have slight problems because your cities are not getting tall enough. So basically you start around 7, maybe 10 pops. So you just can't build all districts you want and might suffer in an insufficient production in the late game. For a gold age, there is no troubles for you to get first one. You might have slight troubles to get second one. And of course, your fourth golden age will be heroic in most cases. So even if you're new to the game, you still can keep up with the stats and will be able to play till the very end. That is why I think Seondeok worth 8 apples out of 10. Survivability for Korea is not an issue in most cases. You're surrounded by hills, so any invader should fight hard reachable terrain first. From another hand, you have watches which can be available early in the game. So you have quite good chances to survive till the very late game. The only problem that you have keep in mind that you might have no horses at all. So secure yourself with a swordsman and you'll be fine. But you don't have any military bonuses except your unique unit. So I can't grant more than 6 apples because of it. Peak power. Korea can perform one of the deadliest push in an entire Civ game, the Hwacha push. Basically, it's a 4 city all-in where you have no way back. The best timings I have seen is about 10:48. But to perform it heavily, we must go for a Warlord Throne and chop some Hwachas with the help of Magnus. And you must somehow get Medieval Renaissance General. So it is quite hard to do things, yes. Of course, you might play a normal game and reach late game units a bit earlier than everyone else, but that is not the reason why I gave Korea 8 apples for this topic. It is because of Hwacha push, and if you can master it, you will dominate your opponents quite easily. Win condition for Korea is quite obvious. It's a scientific victory. You are scientific oriented Civ, and that is the way you might achieve it. You can of course might try to achieve domination victory, constructing some GDRs or jet bombers, but in the end of the day you will still want to leave this planet on some spaceship. I think Seondeok worth 8 apples in its win condition, which in total gives her 69 apples, which is nice. Now let's talk about a new Korean leader, Sejong, who has a superiorly strong leader bonus, Yongle. When you complete your first technology from a new era, receive double your science per turn as culture. That is awesome bonus, and you'll get at least 7 free civics or even more if you are behind in a cultural way. This is super cool temper ability which helps you to reach feudalism or allies depending on what you need more. And of course, if you are planning to rush Hwachas, you can use this ability 3 times, which in total can generate enormous amount of culture, especially depending on your high science. I think this ability worth at least 9 apples. We're skipping all the bonuses we discussed while ranking Seondeok, and we're going straight to bonuses synergy. I was just explaining to you how it is not okay that Seondeok bonus gives you almost no culture, and boom, Sejong gives you enormous amount of culture. It is superior bonus, and it stacks well with every single aspect we have as a career. Trikidum gives you science, Sejong gives you science, and Hangul gives you extra culture depending on how much science you have. This all works so well together, so I can't give less than 8 apples to this bonus synergy. Unfortunately, the rest topics ranking is quite similar with the Seondeok, so we'll run through them quickly. Stat dependence. You still got your heals, 7 apples. Gameplay. One of the easiest in entire Civ franchise, and even easier with this amazing leader bonus, 8 apples. Survivability. You generate enormous amount of science on a hard reachable terrain. The only problem you might have is horses, 6 apples. Big power. Maybe I a bit overestimated Korea, but I'd grant it 8 apples for this Hwacha push, and now it's even better because you got more culture. Win condition, once again, science victory, but now you'll reach tier 3 government faster, 8 apples, which in total gives us 75 apples for a Sejong power projection. The last tier for today is Byzantium, and its first leader, Basil II. His leader ability, Porphyrognathus. Heavy and light cavalry units do full damage against cities following the same religion as Byzantium. Gain the Tagma unique unit when the Divine Right Civic is discovered. I'm not sure how many of you can remember the time when cavalry unit could use ram. But with this ability you don't even need ram, all you need is a religion in your opponent's city. It superiorly stacks with a crusade belief, so Basil II is absolute gigachat in conquering cities. Dogma itself grants extra combat strength for units around it, and it can be opened in a really good civic divine right, which makes Basil the best medieval leader, and I'm sure you agree with me that Parthenogenetos worth not less than 10 apples. Taxes is another imba bonus for Byzantium. Units receive extra 2 combat strength or religious strength for each holy city converted to Byzantium's religion, including Byzantium's holy city, plus 1 great profit point from cities with a holy site district. First of all, Basil is one of the best religious rushers if you need to rush a religion. Second, not that many civs have direct bonus damage like Basil has. And usually it's just not plus 2, it's plus 4, plus 6, sometimes even plus 8. So basically, he has the best military bonus in the game. You just have to work to earn it. It worth, without a doubt, at least 10 apples. Unique unit for Byzantium is Drummond. It's a naval unit that replaces Quadrirema and have 2 tiles ranged attack and a plus 10 combat strength against units. So it's an early frigate that can be used in early sieges, and it's the only unit you can have with a 2 tiles range for the first 60 turns. It can also be used as a frigate in a caravel rush scenarios. I would give it 10 apples, but Byzantium have not granted naval spawn, so sometimes you just can't use Germans. So 7 apples, but it worth way more. Unique building for Byzantium is Hippodrome. It's a cheaper version of an entertainment complex, but it provides you a free cavalry units. So if you're planning to push someone with stagmas, you just keep one district slot opened and spam hippodromes and arenas in every single city, and you get enormous army out of nowhere without any gold or strategic resources needed. The district itself's not that great as Carnival for Brazil, but it is still a unique district. It costs 2 times less, and of course it provides you extra amenities, which is needed for war. So I think it is not 10 apples, but about 8, because unique district can't be bad. The easiest part in ranking this div is bonuses synergy. As you might guess, it's amazing. You have military-oriented leader bonus, military-oriented civ bonus, amazing units, and a super cool hippodrome that provides you even more units. Basil was born to conquer the world, and he might do this. So without any delays, I grant him 10 apples from his bonuses synergy. Stud dependence. Well, for Basil it looks like it's not an issue at all. I've seen different starters for him, and every single time he was able to at least perform his timing push. So if you need a better land, just conquer it. The only problem here that Basil is a semi-naval civ, and sometimes you'll have naval start and you have to go naval, which of course not that bad, but it like to use your dogmas more. That is why I grant him only 7 apples. Gameplay for Basil is incredibly fun and it's not hard at all. You'll get your first golden age with the help of religion, you can't miss your second golden age, so you have nothing to worry about in the first half of the game. And about turn 50-55 you can perform your famous dogma push. That is the funniest part because there is no chances from anyone to defend it, except of course spamming a lot of spimens. In most cases it will cost you almost nothing, but your neighbors will spend a lot of production to defend against it. So you'll get a better sim because of it, and if you can conquer it right away, you can finish your job later. That is why I rated Basil gameplay topic with an 8 apples. Survivability. It does look like it's not an issue at all for Basil to survive through the game. And it's true, the only weak spot for you is the very beginning of the game, but there is only few saves who can actually do something in these timings. And even if someone will try to attack you, you can always go for a defender of the faith instead of crusade. Later in the game, you are the guy who knocks in the neighbor doors. So I rated his survivability with an 8 apples. Big power. Well, it's obvious medieval with a Tagma push. But you should not forget about the late game when you can use taxes bonus to get +4, +6, or maybe even +8 military strength on your units. So, in terms, can Basil II change something in a game with the help of military units? Yes, he can, and I grant him 10 apples out of 10. The last topic is win condition, and yes, Basil can win. And it's obviously a domination victory, yes. Sometimes, of course, people might surrender before you conquer them all, or sometimes, after successful conquest, you'll have the top stats on the map, which definitely leads to your victory, but in other conditions like cultural or scientific, for example. I really like leaders with a clear win condition, and Basil II, one of those leaders. So without any doubts, I grant him 8 apples for a win condition topic, which in total gives Basil II 86 apples, his absolute leader so far. The last one leader for today is Theodora, newest Byzantium leader with a metanoia ability. Holy sites provides culture equal to their adjacency bonus. Farms provide face adjacency to hippodromes and holy sites. As you can see, this thief is heavily culturally oriented. And to be honest, metanoia is quite balanced bonus, and it doesn't look like something imba. I have to admit that all leaders in this pack have quite balanced leader bonuses. And metanoia is quite strong bonus, but it's not an imba, and it worth 7 apples. We're skipping all other bonuses because we just discussed it, and we can talk about bonuses synergy. As you might guess, it's not that good as Basil's one. Theodora lost Tagmas and now Hippodrome will produce knights. Unfortunately, you might not have enough science to reach knights in time. It might look that Theodora lost its attacking potential, but it's not, because now the timings are different and you can have nice late game tank push with a tier 3 government. So yes, bonuses does not have that good synergy as it used to be, but there is still a way to use it. That is why I think it's worth not less than 7 apples. The rest of topics are the same as with a basil, but for a slightly different reasons. Stat dependent, worth the same 7 apples. You can have nice holy sites with a good adjacency bonuses. You might not be that good in conquering, but you are way better in terraforming your territory. Gameplay is easy as hell. With this amount of culture, you'll get golden ages in no time, and will have a nice sim thanks to the monumentality dedications. Survivability, the same story that with a Basil, you still can go for a defender of the faith anytime, and you can have free units from Hippodromus even though it's not a Dogmas. Peak power for Theodora is in a late game where you can go for a tier 3 government and dominate your neighbors with a tank push. Unlike Basil, you don't have to rush your opponents, you just can outsim them and conquer them with a more advanced units, with a better government type. And the win conditions are still the same, it's heavily oriented on a military victory, but you might achieve any other type of victory, for example, cultural. In total, Theodora lost 6 points, but it's still 80 points, which makes her quite strong leader, and I don't think it's one of the strongest leader in the game. Thanks a lot for watching. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, sub, share, and leave a comment below. All these actions will help this video and channel to grow. Sending you positive vibes, much love, have a nice day.